Well, before I do this particular video, I have to thank Paul Price for christening my Buy Me a Coffee link. Yeah, you put a wee note saying, have a porter, matey, because Paul's smart. He knew I wasn't going to buy coffee. Good guy, by the way. And Paul, if you want to drop in your YouTube link or your Facebook page, you go for it, mate. And if it doesn't show straight away, if it's held in whatever behind the scenes, I'll make sure it's there. Or send me the links through Facebook. I'll make sure the links are there in the pinned comment. Honestly, appreciate. So, Ghislaine Maxwell's interview with the Justice Department has been released, and there are jaw-dropping details galore. In the hundreds of pages of records published Friday, Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for recruiting young girls for Epstein to sexually abuse, provided no incriminating information on high-profile individuals, including Donald Trump. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times I was with him, he was a gentleman in all aspects, insisted the criminal who's likely angling for a presidential pardon. She also denied the existence of a so-called client list and insisted Bill Clinton had never visited Epstein's paedophile island. Now, it's complex, obviously, the first few sentences, not least of which is, as it's designed to do, fuck with your mind. It goes on to say, for example, but she did share revealing details about her own relationship with Epstein, including details of his erectile dysfunction and an issue with her own sexual function, which she claims hampered the sex life between two paedophiles. Well, call me old-fashioned here. Maybe it's because she was an adult woman. It did nothing for him. And that she was there to procure what did work for him. Would that be fair? Would that be reasonable? So the inference is obviously, well, Orange Man, bad, blah, blah, blah. And then to put in Bill Clinton. And let's be honest, honestly, in the naive days before the internet, I actually naively thought that, this Bill Clinton, as a president, seems to be a good guy, seems to be doing great work. But once I actually got onto the internet and found a thing called the Clinton Chronicles, I'll repeat, the Clinton Chronicles, type it in, well, very educational. My thoughts about Bill Clinton changed quite a lot. You could call that part of the true awakening of, the slap in the face of reality of, if you had, let's just deal with all that naivety right now. I realised very quickly, and believe me, I had my suspicions beforehand. In fact, you think about an example in the 90s where, even although most people in the public are pretty programmed and naive, to say the least, because all they watch is the mainstream media, when Princess Diana died, most people went, oh, well, that's Philip. Straight away, just didn't bat an eyelid. Well, that's Philip. Yeah. Or, Charles is a bit pissed off. But it was mostly Philip, that most people thought of, yeah. And what I would say is that historically, you tend to find that most politicians, anybody with a perceived perception of power, behind the scenes, there's always something on them. And anybody that steps out of line, history remembers them as, not quite what they wanted them to remember. Would that be fair? Yeah. And this, obviously, look, if she gets a pardon, well, let's be honest, that's not going to look too good for Trump. And while Trump has done some reasonable things, I mean, he certainly said, look, I'm going to make sure there's, none of this uncontrolled immigration, blah, blah, blah. Although one would question, if he starts, and people could probably drop me links, and maybe there is, saying, well, what we need is a digital currency and an ID chip and all the rest of it. Well, and I'm not saying he's not. I'd say there's a good chance he is. And look, most people will say, you're waffling, Scott. Look, think about the subject matter here. Seriously. And then think about even Ireland, for example. Look at all those politicians, no matter what party you look at, and they're quite literally dumping on their own people, and yet for some unknown reason, they don't bat an eyelid. I'm just wondering how many of those politicians have, well, something on them. You look at the UK, you look at Keir Starmer. Yeah. Keir Starmer will appeal over the ruling to close Epping Migrant Hotel after it throws Labour asylum policy into chaos by triggering wave of cases across Britain. I mean, none of it makes sense in the sense, it's so obvious that they're anti-native people. They're absolutely, they're now talking about things like, what was it, one LBC guy said, when somebody dies, the government should get 100% of that. There should be no wealth to be handed on to family, friends, or... No, seriously. There is a direction of travel, and you've got to ask the very brass neck of the people who are literally seeing this, what behind the scenes do they have on them? That's all I'm saying. Would that be fair? And I'll speak to you soon.